Wonderful. So, very good afternoon uh, to all my friends here. I welcome all of you to this roundtable discussion organized by Dynamics CISO in association with Cisco. My name is Mukbil Ahmed. I'm the executive editor at dynamicsciso.com and Greyhead Media. First of all, I wish and hope that all of you are safe and secure. We all know these are really uncertain times. And I also thank you for assembling today, despite this being a busy Friday afternoon. Friends, the topic for today's discussion is EDR to XDR and beyond, meeting the security needs of today's evolved endpoints. We would all know and appreciate that organizations are leveraging technology for survival as well as growth. They are digitizing to maintain business continuity, timelines, and productivity. However, this cannot happen at the cost of security. Increased digital interaction can precipitate changes in fraud risks. In fact, cyber attacks and security incidents have increased dramatically. One reason is that despite an increase in security investment, detection and response times are still too slow. Moreover, as employees share data to stay productive, connected, and do business, the data becomes vulnerable to a multitude of emerging threats and sophisticated attack vectors. In such a context, endpoint security is crucial, particularly if a majority of the workforce is working remotely. It is therefore time for a fresh look at cybersecurity, particularly endpoint security. According to Gartner, extended detection and response solutions may be able to reduce the complexity of security configuration and incident response to provide a better security outcome than isolated best of breed components. And they recommend customers to increase the importance of integration and automation in purchasing decisions. Such products lead to faster time to value. Today, we will discuss all these aspects in great detail on how to defend your enterprise successfully, boost productivity with more intelligent, more confident XDR built in, as well as accurately detect threats across the enterprise and gain intelligent insights for faster response times. In depth, we will discuss the importance of a robust security posture, particularly in the context of digital transformation in a post COVID 19 world. And there couldn't have been a better time to discuss all this. For today's discussions, we have a very interesting lineup of knowledgeable and extremely insightful panelists, all of whom are very senior cybersecurity professionals and chief information security officers or CISOs. Before we delve into a systematic round of discussions, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our guest speaker from Cisco. It is my pleasure to introduce Snehal Patel, Vice President of Product Management, Cisco Security Platform and Response. Snehal Patel is Vice President of Project Management. He is responsible for strategy and growth, technical marketing, engineering, and customer success. Patel is focused on developing and delivering an integrated security portfolio that simplifies the security experience for customers' security teams. With the goal of integrating Cisco's portfolio of security products for enterprise customers, Patel concentrates on innovating SecureX, endpoint security, email security, network detection and response, and application security. Prior to joining Cisco's SP&R, Patel developed a strategy and brought to market Cisco's network analytics products designed to automate and simplify enterprise network operations. Patel is an accomplished technology executive, offering a rich blend of product management and engineering leadership experience at Cisco and Boeing, coupled with strategy and operations expertise honed at McKinsey and Company. As an associate principal at McKinsey, Patel helped clients drive growth by developing portfolio and product strategy, product design, and optimizing supply chain in high-tech and aerospace industries. Patel received distinctive recognition for his work and impact. At Boeing, Patel developed and delivered a communication system to bring internet to the battlefield for the Department of Defense. Recognized among the top 5% at Boeing, Patel also received the Leadership Excellence Award, Asian American Engineer of the Year, and multiple Site Engineer of the Year award. Patel holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology, a master's degree in electrical engineering from the University of California at Irvine, and a master's degree in business administration from the University of California at Los Angeles. Welcome to the show, Snehal.
Thank you. It's very generous. I'm very happy to be part of this forum here. I look forward to share some ideas and learn more along the way.
Absolutely. And here I would also like to point out that the last few minutes will be a question and answer session. So keep your questions ready. We shall take them up at the last. And so right now, starting with a systematic round of discussions, I would really like to bring in my InfoSix friends here. So friends, what challenges do you face in ensuring a secure digital infrastructure and actually trying to thwart cyber attacks and data breaches? Can I please request Manoj to take the baton?
Okay, so I think from a challenge standpoint, what I see is that organizations face, predominantly the lack of a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy itself to start with, right? Because that ultimately will be the underlying foundation on which you build everything and anything, to protect the business and its clients from time to time. So one is that, and two, of course, the plethora of attacks which are underway, and the global threat landscape has been drastically changing right now. If you look at the current scenario, we are looking at over 500% rise in COVID-based or COVID-related attacks, or the cyber crime itself has exponentially grown in this particular period. And then we are also having 100% of employees remotely connecting to almost each of the organizations which are in business today, right? So digitization is definitely a challenge for organizations to ensure they go 100% digital, because that is the only way then they can have all of their remote workforce working to be able to work in all of the platforms and services that they operate for their respective businesses. So that is about the cybersecurity foundation, so to speak. Then it is about how we can, continuously improve on the security posture itself, right? So how do you continuously, or if not continuously, periodically detect and improve on your security control posture from time to time? So you can have internal mechanism to look at control weaknesses. You can have external parties coming and doing an audit for an organization and telling guys, these are the kind of gaps that you have in your environment, and this is how you should look at taking the control posture to a different level altogether. So that is more
Right.
on the governance and the strategy aspect of it. Now,
Right.
Talking about the technological controls, see, organizations are trying their best to, at least the medium and large organizations are trying to spend a lot of time and resources on bringing in best-in-class products and trying to see how they can continue to improve on how they manage security for the organization. That said, there are always going to be solutions which are going to come into the market, which needs to be given a shot at, because unlike organizations which are more on the defender side of the ring, the attacker side of the ring is much more aggressive, and they have much bigger motivation to be successful and making causing a much bigger chaos, right? So if you look at
Right.
the current set of threats which are happening right now, if you try to take the top 4 or 5, the phishing, ransomware, DDoS, and the insider threat will be on the top of that 3 or 4 threats for even the boards to be concerned about, isn't
Right.
it? So how do you go about challenging your own security posture, your own teams, and how do you bring about changes in the people, process, and technology aspects in all areas to be on top of your game as much as you can. It's not that you can get it right always, because like I said, the technologies are also evolving, and it's really the speed in which that the evolution is happening is also so rapid, and attackers are also having much bigger advantage of being able to come out with exploits, or even find exploits and take it forward from there. Right. So these are my immediate thoughts on the kind of challenges organizations face today. Now, companies can spend millions in their security investments, but then ultimately, if a user ends up sharing his or her password, it just breaks down like a deck of cards, right? So like a house of cards. So how do you go about ensuring the awareness aspect, from a security culture standpoint, is continuously happening, because that is a constant reminder for all users. Unlike how you protect your own debit card or credit card and its PIN, right? As a matter of fact that you should not share it with anybody else, right? But then users, when it comes to a business environment, which is, you can say, slightly impersonal from how you protect your credit card details, for instance, it's a completely different thing, right? So you need to bring in that thought process and so on. So that is another element. And last point, I think, is how do you, improve the way, the security operations centers can quickly, prevent an attack which is underway, and then respond to it, detect and respond to it, right? Now, if you look at the traditional, so we have seen how the endpoint solutions have evolved over the years. Endpoint antivirus, technologies have been there for a very long time now, right? Easily for over 15, 20 plus years. And they have only continued to evolve. Now, till recently, we have been harping about the EDR as a environment, right? The way of, handling detection response. But that has always been something which is holding everything on the endpoint alone. But all the other layers, you talk about the cloud layer, you talk about the email layer, you talk about the network layer. So all of these elements are not being covered when you talk about a pure play EDR environment, right? So if you look at if you're looking for solutions in any way to bring down the way or improve the way the SOC can detect and build upon their security analysts' capabilities, then we need solutions like the XDR. It's a new buzzword in the industry now. How you can leverage that, right? Where it can bring things together. You can use things like artificial intelligence and big data and do things very fast, break down silos, bring playbooks together, automate it, and give things literally on a platter to the analyst, and improve on all these SOC critical parameters like mean time to detect and mean time to respond and so on, because ultimately that is how the SOC get measured on their productivity angle as well, isn't it? True. These are my quick thoughts on this.
Thank you so much, Manoj, for your extremely comprehensive answer. You have largely touched on a broad spectrum of very important and significant themes, including digitalization and the need for awareness and all of that. Very good points. And before we move on to the next panelist, who is Nazmul Karim, I would request all the panelists here and InfoSec friends here to kindly be on video, so that we are able to track this and monitor this progress in a better fashion. So, Nazmul, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the main thought actually, what I got from my experience is the technological evolvement and security threat evolvements actually go hand in hand. So whenever there is a new technology, there is new threats evolved at the same time. The main challenge actually I saw is the right implementation of the technology. and the right users of these technologies. So we have invested a lot. I in couple of organization in my last 10 years, so I see that there is a lot of investment done, but implementation was not correctly set up. So at the same time, the process actually following by the users the maintainers who actually manage this technologies, that was not actually right fit. That was not according to the organization objective. The reason actually organization implement and make the investment to secure their digital assets, uh, those implementation and their maintaining process is not that way. So this is I feel the biggest challenge, and that's why we are getting a lot of innovation. How actually these process can be process lapses can be mitigated by the technology itself. But it's not the technology always help you in this ground. It should be the process which is actually help. So
Right.
saying that, I find that the most vulnerable part is the endpoint.
Correct. Correct.
We have a lot of focus on network firewall. We have a lot of focus on intrusion prevention system or DDoS platform, but the users who actually use the digital assets, they are very much reluctant.
True.
The managers who are actually managing those technologies, they are also reluctant. They are not. I'm not finding something different on them with the end user and a network administrator or the system administrator behavior. So they are all are
Right.
same. So so
Great
emphasizing
points,
on those
Nazmul. Great points.
right,
So
emphasizing
just
those points. Yeah.
correct. So we see a lot of very significant and important points being touched by both Manoj and Nazmul, and I think this is the most appropriate time to let Snehal jump into the right into the deep end of the conversation. And so your thoughts, Snehal, you have heard two of our CISO friends telling us about the challenges that they face.
Well, first of all, I couldn't agree with both of them anymore. Right? I mean, they're fantastic. We are seeing the same things. Since the COVID hit, we are hearing across globally from all of our customers, the number of security events have gone up significantly. So for an APJC area, about 70% of customers reported more than 25 to 100% increases in security events that they see. Similar, phishing is number one. Ransomware, we are seeing a lot more increases in. So we are definitely seeing a lot of these events globally. But I think the point that both Manoj and Nismol kind of talked about, endpoint and EDR, and the transformation from there into XDR, I think that's the part that we are super excited about, right? Because at the end of the day, the mean time to detection, mean time to remediation are the key metrics that the SOC really gets evaluated against. At Cisco, we feel pretty excited with some of the work we've been doing in this particular area. So as you know, we have M4 Endpoint, which is we were one of the first to bring cloud-based or SaaS-based endpoint protection with our M4 Endpoint and EDR capability. We also about almost 3 years, wow, time flies when you're having fun. We actually released what wasn't actually even called XDR at the time, which is ability to actually do detection and investigation across different domains. So endpoint, email, firewall, NDR, all of that tied together from a single location. And I'll kind of go through a demo a little bit later to show how that works. And then ability to remediate that or provide response all from a single location. That ability to kind of reduce that time is essentially what I think a lot of our SOC leaders and CISOs are really looking for. And I think endpoint absolutely plays a critical role there, right? Because as you start thinking about the role endpoint is playing now, visibility, whether you are within the confines of your perimeter in your corporate side, or you're accessing from your home, as a lot of us are nowadays, which are definitely not as resilient networks or secure networks as we would have. Endpoint is where a lot of your corporate data is ending up. Right? How do you make sure what's the hygiene of that particular endpoint? how do you use that hygiene to actually set better access control, risk-based access control? So one of the things that we did January of this year is we tied our endpoint with our Duo capabilities. So if we see malicious activity on the endpoint, that data is communicated with Duo, and Duo can automatically block access to your business critical application if the device does not have the right posture. Bringing these types of integrations from access perspective, as well as ability to investigate and remediate across domains, is something that we think Cisco has been leading for a while, and we are very happy to bring some of that features through SecureX.
Wonderful. Those are extremely valid points. Endpoint security is, we can't emphasize on it enough. And so moving on to our next panelist, Kunal, who has just disappeared.
Yeah, I'm
Kunal?
there, sorry. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It would be great if you could be on video. And this is my request to all our CISO friends and InfoSec friends. So Kunal, you have heard Manoj, and you have also heard Nazmul on the real grit and grime, the challenges that they face. Would you like to add your own perspective? How difficult security, particularly cybersecurity, is becoming day by day.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just try to be a bit brief on my point. So essentially what I wanted to highlight is, while as Manoj and Nazmul highlighted, so the threat landscape has changed in this COVID time, especially with all maybe 90% of the workforce operating from home. So there has been a gradual change in the entire threat landscape. And obviously, as rightly mentioned by all, phishing continues to be, let's say, one of the most predominant attack threat vectors. So the other thing what we have noted is, specifically when we talk about phishing, so essentially I would like to cover the entire three aspects in terms of prevention, detection, as well as correction. So these are essentially the three elements across which we measure any particular thing. So from a prevention standpoint, the biggest, let's say, challenge what we have noted is, while we try to limit the attack in terms of, let's say, so that the particular email which has that particular latent, maybe the payload that doesn't, let's say, hit our particular thing. But what we have noted is, in spite of best of the control, so the ecosystem as such has not evolved completely. So what happens is, while we implement controls at our end in terms of our incoming mail gateway, so what we notice, there are many predominant players who are of, let's say, enormous repute. They have not implemented those controls at their end. So essentially what happens is, we end up whitelisting those domains. So that is one area where we have noted the ecosystem as such has to evolve. Some things like a DMARC and all those have to become a baseline. So that is something which has not happened so far. The other thing obviously is in terms of detection and response, and that is where the EDR comes into picture. So while obviously we continue to evolve in terms of what the topic of discussion today is in terms of EDR to XDR, so that is something which happens, but EDR is something obviously which has given us a fillip more from a traditional antivirus, which are, let's say, more of a signature-based attack. So an EDR is something obviously which helps us in evolving. The other thing which we have noted is in terms of MDM, because see what happens is, in the current scenario, when people are mostly operating from home, people are using their personal devices. So essentially MDM solutions are inevitable. And that is where the only challenge what we have noted is, when we try to port our legacy applications, the one which are there, or maybe mobile-based application, tablet-based application into MDM. So there are many challenges which we have noted. So that is something which we continue to work with, let's say, the partners. So that is it from my side.
Right. Mr. Mohan Kumar, your inputs on this very insightful discussion that we have been having, and very comprehensive one. We can't hear you, sir. Can you please unmute yourself? We still can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this great opportunity. It is nice to have to be part of this August audience and to discuss on this the challenges of what we are facing in today's situation. See, I'm basically from an education background. Like I'm from the IIT Vellore Institute of Technology, and we have people there in the campus, as well as now because of COVID, most of the campus today, but many of our faculty and students, they're all at home, and then they all work from home. So the biggest challenge as far as the cyber security is concerned, like, see, COVID started in all of a sudden, like, we never expected that this kind of situation arise. And all of a sudden everything was shut down and people were asked to, go back to their home and work from there. And being education, like, normally the typical education environment, like, we don't spend too much of as far as the infrastructure is concerned. Like, people always think that why should we spend on infrastructure, because we are happy with what we have. But fortunately, like, we have been working with many of the technology partners in the past, and we could able to bring most of the best of the breed technology to the campus, and fortunately we could not face much of challenges, but there are challenges, like, for example, like, today the situation is very different, like, how it was earlier, like, the threats can come in from different through different channels. Like, earlier, like, once your endpoint is protected, like, normally what we do is we block the USB ports, and we always say that, okay, we are secure now because no one can get into the system. But today the situation is totally different, where, the attackers get into the system through various channels, and that is becoming a big issues in addressing those kind of threats. And another point is, like, the awareness among the people, like, like when COVID started, like, we all said, like, maybe we will not get infected because we are healthy and stuff like that. But suddenly, healthy people are also getting into to this COVID issues. So similar way, like, especially the community, especially the students as well as faculty community, they always felt that, my desktop or my machine is safe because I have the best of the breed antivirus and we are safe. But over a period of time, we realized that no, we are not secure, because we need not only the endpoint antivirus, we need beyond that. So that is the time we started really investing on it, and we have best of the technology being used by our people, and we could really able to get the benefit out of it. Like, especially, to be honest with you, like, we use Cisco Umbrella and Cisco AMP, where it has given a lot of benefits after deployment of these solutions from Cisco. And we do have other systems in place, but as an IT head, my challenge is, like, we have a lot of solution in the market. When it comes to security, I think that is the space we have many solutions, and we do not know which one to go for, like, whether to go with this X or Y or Z, and we really get confused. That's one point as far as I am concerned. But with respect to the people, the awareness, like, they always think that, like, I'm safe and secure, but a lot of education or training has been done among the people, but still there are some resistance, and we are struggling to convince the people and getting into the system. So, and another challenge is, like, those we have certain process and procedures and strategies, but again, to bring the people to follow that is another biggest challenge. Yes, plenty of technologies are there, but what to choose, whether what we are choosing is the right one, or whether it is maybe give the ultimate result first, we do not know. But it needs a lot of research and kind of brainstorming and understanding, basically, to choose these systems.
Right, Mr. Mohan Kumar, yeah. Right. Extremely valid points, and a pat on the back for Snehal and Cisco. And so moving on, this is a very interesting point that you raised, Mr. Mohan Kumar, about how the entire cybersecurity approach needs to actually evolve, especially in this, after the pandemic set in, and what are the new trends that we are watching, and what are the new challenges that are coming in face of that. So I would request Apurva to actually put on his video. I would like to get you into the discussions now. Apurva, can you hear me? Apurva is from Ecom Express. Apurva? All right, I think he will be back in a bit. So moving on to Ashish. Ashish, can you hear me? Ashish Chakraborty. It seems we are in for afternoon snooze. uh, anyway, Darshak, are you there? Okay, so now I'm fielding an open question. Who all are there? Darshak, you there? Rajesh?
I'm here. Yeah.
Yes, Rajesh. So wonderful. This is actually a great relief for me.
Good. Yeah.
Incidence response
Yeah.
is very wonderful. So, Rajesh, your thoughts, on really on the evolution of cybersecurity and particularly the new challenges which have emerged over the past few months in the wake of the pandemic. Would you like to contribute your thoughts on this subject?
Yeah. I mean, see, I am practicing, and let me give a disclaimer that I'm not a CISO, but I'm, providing solutions to my clients. And what traction I see in the market is, so various companies are at various milestones of, on their security roadmap. However, recent traction, as I think Apurva or somebody else has spoken earlier about the work from home challenges. So there are challenges, particularly from BFSI clients, wherein their call center executives are working from home and carrying out certain verifications of personal data, or the evidence has been submitted like Aadhaar or PAN cards and all that. And when back office team downloads that and probably try to verify, so how to protect that data, okay, when they download or they verify, or even if they submit certain data, okay. So in a future PDPR kind of scenario, these use cases become very important, and that is
Absolutely,
where,
Rajesh.
hello.
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Please carry
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So one particular solution doesn't, serve the entire use cases. So what we are doing is we are providing the combination of DLP at endpoints, at gateway, cloud solutions. Okay, it's a combination of multiple solutions which caters to a particular end-to-end scenario, which clients are throwing at us, to provide the solution. So that, and the second, the how the industry is behaving. So I also look at the when I suggest a product, okay, I also look at how the financial situation of a company is. Okay, like you take an example of Symantec. Okay, so you know what is happening with them. Okay, and what is their roadmap. Okay, so the financial strength of a company, because these are all research based products, okay, and keeps on getting updated. So you need you have to suggest a solution which will give a long term roadmap to a client. Otherwise client will invest into one product and they get stuck with that. So all these different holistic approach I take when I suggest certain solution to them. And because I
Correct,
was
correct.
heading IT for e-commerce for a large retail firm earlier, so I come from that background, that experience, and gone through entire, solutioning. So I propose that, that way. So that is how I approach to the solutions.
Right, right. Thank you, Rajesh. And at this point of time, I would really want to bring in Mehbubul, our friend from Prime Bank Limited. So, Mehbubul, this is, can you hear us, Mehbubul? Mehbubul? All right. Is Vishwas here? Vishwas Pitre? Okay, so I think we'll have to move on. And Manoj, you have heard about various speakers here talk about the evolution of the challenges, and particularly, I mean, these challenges, cybersecurity challenges, are particularly significant for industries such as healthcare, such as the BFSI sector, and all of that. So, what is your view? How has the threat landscape really changed and evolved over the past few months, or as you call it, the Corona era?
I think it has greatly expanded the threat landscape overall, because the threat surface itself has been expanded. Because earlier we were looking at the corporate logical and physical boundaries from within which employees used to operate from. Even within the corporate boundaries, also there used to be further tightened security tightened spaces where you process client specific data, right? So there were layered controls from within the organizational, physical, and logical boundaries, so to say. Now, what has happened is that in the current context of this, as we call as a new normal, we are seeing that 100% of employees are out of the company, right? And then they are reaching inwards. So it's about 100% remote access. So I think the first challenge is from an IT standpoint itself on, is our infra capable to handle 100% user traffic hitting from outside, right? Then if you look at it, the question is about how do you look at the security elements of it, right? One is about the infrastructure availability and the scalability of the network, and how the infrastructure can take such a load of 100%. You look at any global statistics. I think the last somewhere I read, it said that more than it's around 25% plus employees were the ones who were actually working from home globally earlier, right? Now, what has happened is that it has hit 100%, because it's like 100% remote connectivity kind of a scenario. What we are also foreseeing is how this is going to change now in the post-COVID era, right? Let's say we have a pre-COVID era, then we have a current context of new normal, as we call it. Then we have a return to office kind of an era, right? What now McKinsey's are calling it as the next normal. Okay, that's a new term which is now buzzing in the industry. So
right.
How do you look at handling a return to office kind of a scenario where organizations are already relooking at their businesses, the business models, their connectivity models? How do they go addressing the challenges? Now, it is said that over 35% plus employees are going to opt for 3 or 4 days of work from home, in the future. Okay, and that is going to be the norm going forward. So businesses have had to completely take a hard look at how they are going to distance, because ultimately, because the boundaries have been dissolved. Earlier, there was a scenario where you leave office and then when you reach home, that is a completely different environment altogether. So many times, many of us might not even get into office calls or look at the phone or mails and stuff like that. Now that has all gone. It's all
true. The
completely.
boundaries have completely disappeared and blurred.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. So now from morning you start and you go all the way till late night until you crash. Right. You are on and on with what work keeps coming, and work is never going to stop. Right.
True. So this is a very valid point that you have made, Manoj. And And I would really want to bring in Snehal into the discussions now. Snehal, you have heard about, how this entire speed and the rate of digital transformation has rapidly increased over the past few months, and how this is posing a major challenge. So, so you see that organizations are, trying to leverage technology for their survival, of course, and some for their growth as well. So, and they are doing all this to maintain business continuity, timelines, and all of that. So, do you think that is this increasing speed of digitalization actually leading to a spike in or a very dramatic increase in cybersecurity risks?
100%. I think to some degree, even before COVID came around, I think the attack surface was already increasing, right? The traditional perimeter that Manoj was referring to had already started to dissolve, right? And so basically people were accessing from remote. And then what happened is, as your applications moved to public cloud, that fundamentally increased essentially exposed ourselves to a whole new different set of threat surfaces. Threat that people are more worried about, there are more configuration type threats. When we take a look at some of the events, security events that you see, majority of them are coming from your public network or public cloud. And what COVID's done is essentially just exponentially increased the speed at which people have migrated over there. And now, not only are you seeing that more from a public cloud perspective, but also from your devices that people are accessing. And I think that we continue to see this trend evolve, and we will continue to see this expansion as over the next couple of years for sure. To Manoj's point, I think this is the next new normal, right? At the end of the day, people will be able to continue to access from their home or from coffee shops, for example, data that will not be in confines of your corporate boundary. And in that environment, how do we really help provide that visibility? And I think the posture, the hygiene for your devices will become pretty critical. How do you actually do cloud security is going to get a lot more critical. And at the fundamentally ability to stitch this together across all the way from user to device to network down to your cloud and applications, I think it's going to be a game changer for a lot of us.
True, true. And I would completely agree with you that this Corona era has been really prolific in terms of the new terms which have been thrust into the language. The new normal, the next normal. I don't know what is going to come, what kind of normal is going to come in the next few years or something. But this has really, and I think it is a manifestation of the challenges that humanity itself has been facing over the past few months. And so, sticking with you, Snehal, how do you think that XDR, which is extended detection and response, it can actually help enterprises, be more intelligent and confident and accurate about threat detection?
No, absolutely. And so I think I love visiting customers. We do like 4 or 5 hour sessions. We'll just go there, no slides, no presentations. Like sit down with the analysts. Tell me what I want to be in your shoes for a few hours. Show me or help me understand what was the last incident you had to investigate, remediate, etc., and just kind of go through that. And one thing that we find is that there's the confidence that, have I found everything in my environment? Have I confidently done the response? I think is not quite there, because there are so many different concepts people have to go through. And I think, as Mohan Kumar said, security, unfortunately, is a very fragmented industry. There are lots and lots of different types of products. And every time a new technology comes out, there's a whole other set of attack surface that opens up. And so to try and really understand and stitch that together is very, very difficult. And I think people find that, especially with the skill sets that are not as prevalent as we would like, I think it becomes even more tricky. So let me actually go and demo. Here's how we as Cisco are addressing this particular site. So give me 1 second here. And let me know once the slides, once this comes through. Can you guys see this coming through? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Give me 1 second here.
Sure, sure.
There you go. It's VPN as our friend. So one of the things that we did with SecureX, and I don't know if everyone's familiar with SecureX or not, so I'm going to do a quick 1 minute overview. SecureX is our ability. It's a platform. It's a cloud native platform that we released in June, end of June. This is our way of stitching together information across different security domains. Since we've released it, we've had roughly about 4,500 customers who've used it. So it's been one of the fastest adopted products that we have. We took a very different approach. We made this part of every product that Cisco Security sells. So for example, if you buy our M4 Endpoint product, you get SecureX as part of that license. You buy email, etc. The deployment, obviously, given that this is a SaaS product, is about as simple as putting your API keys in for your license, and you're good to go. You don't have to do anything else. Creating an account is also directly. You don't need any activation keys or anything like that. So one of the things that we've done, and I'll kind of go through, there's a bunch of stuff in here, but I'll start with a few things. Right? Number one, simplicity. We want to make sure there's one place to get all the visibility across your firewalls, your email, your endpoint, your DNS security, your identity, all of that one in single location. And so essentially, this is where you would see a dashboard. Now, you can customize this dashboard to whoever you want. So in this particular case, we are showing you the types of intrusion top attacks from firepower. We are seeing how many quarantine events we've seen on the M4 endpoint. We are looking at what types of minor tactics that we are seeing in your environment and kind of report from that. Now, let me kind of go through the point that people have talked about is like, how do I understand the bigger picture, what really happened? So one of the things that we've done is we've got a ribbon right here. And what ribbon does, essentially, this is, we wanted to really make sure that SecureX is not something that you have to go to. It is with you no matter where you are. So you could be in a third-party product. As long as it's a browser-based product, you get ribbon, and all the capabilities of the entire portfolio is available to you directly. This is also integrated in every Cisco security product that we have. So overall, there are many, many apps that we have. One of the apps in here is your incident. So I want to see what incidents do I have. I see that I've got a new one assigned to me. And it tells me, here's a high urgency event that's been assigned to me. I got to go investigate that. So I'm going to go take a look at the observables. This came from my firewall. This is the malicious IP address that was flagged. There is one target that I know of. And now what I want to be able to do is I want to understand what actually happened here. So what I would like to do up here is to go back and understand how do I, let me go and investigate this particular one. So I'm going to go investigate this. Now what's happening here during this investigation, think of this as Google for your security environment. It's going to go and take a look at your observable that you have, whether it's IP or hash or email addresses. It will go across, it will go to VirusTotal, it will go to Cisco Talos, it will go to any other intelligence, the third-party intelligence that you might have integrated into SecureX. Find out the current reputation for it. Then it will go to your endpoint, your firewall, your StealthWatch, your email. Tell me, where have you seen these sightings? And it'll stitch that together. And so while we were talking, what it's done is the following thing. It's found two targets. This and this are one targets. This is another target. So you have an unmanaged device right here that's reached out to this IP address. This IP address is tied to this malicious domain that you see. Right away, you actually tied your endpoint. You've tied your firewall, and you've tied your DNS domain. You also can tell from here that this particular SHA is the one that initiated the communications to this particular domain that the firewall team, that the firewall product identified. Let's find out how did this file get into our environment. So I'm going to add that to my investigation. And while it's doing this, basically what it's doing is it's going to scan through all your endpoints. It's going to scan again through all your firewall, your email, everything else. And very quickly, what you will find, it will go and consolidate all this data for you. So now, in a few minutes, what you've done is, here's my file that initiated that malicious connection to the malicious domain. You find that this actually this was found in your email security. Not only that, you know that this email was actually, this file was included in an email to this particular target. So if I click on this, the target, the person who actually got this was right here is essentially your, why is this not popping up here? Oh, there you go. No, not available in graph. Okay. So then you can tell what emails we have. So you've got message ID right here. You know that the email subject is COVID update. And basically what this looks like is somebody got an email, and the person who got the email right here is Charlie right here. That person clicked on the email that had the phishing link in there. That's essentially how this connection was made and how this file got into your environment. Now, what can you do about this? You can come up here, you'll go up here, and you can say, I want to actually go and isolate this particular endpoint. So now this endpoint has been isolated directly. All of this stuff was done directly through Cisco SecureX, all from a single location. And you can see the speed through which we did the investigation. Very fast. Customers who've used this, they said this reduced their investigation time from anywhere from 50 to 75%. And they can all take remediation actions. You can block your IPs, you can block your domains, you can block your hashes, all from a single console directly from here. Any questions on here before I go to one more thing up here?
Yeah, I would request everyone to please pitch in with your questions and queries if you have some. Darshak, are you there? I just saw you a little while back. Darshak?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yes, yes. So, Darshak, would you like to add on to the discussion that you're having?
Yeah, basically, I was just understanding the product and the capabilities. I can see it is like having the so many things on a single window where you can control so many things and view the correlation between multiple events also. So I just want to understand that one part that I have a fair understanding between the EV and EDR capabilities, where EDR basically see around the events happening around the endpoints, what kind of logs coming, and based on that, it is creating some logic to stop, or it can give some information to stop malicious activity in the endpoint environment. But in XDR, what exactly we are doing extra, that probably I was not able to concise in my mind. If you can help for the same.
Sure.
So I would request Snehal to, actually address this one as well as you go along with your, talk.
Absolutely. So I think Darshak, so what we did was from an EDR perspective, what EDR would have told you is that you wanted to go do a deep dive, you understand exactly what's happening on the particular endpoints. You can take a file trajectory, a device trajectory, see what happened. But it will not tell you how did the file actually get into your environment. So here what we were able to do was we were able to identify that there was actually, the initial detection, as you can tell, came from firewall. They saw a detection made to this particular domain that was pulled in here, which is this particular domain right here. This domain is what's associated with this IP address. That came from firewall. Then what we did was, as soon as we said we wanted to investigate that particular event, we went and got the information and then found out that this connection was actually made by Charlie, which is our endpoint, and assigned to this particular user. Not only that, we were able to actually then pull out which file on the particular endpoint made the connection, right? Now what we wanted to do was, so all this enrichment happened for you automatically. You didn't have to go and do stitch all that information together for you. Now the question is, how did this file get into my environment, right? And on the endpoint itself. And as we added that file to our investigation, what we found was that this file was actually delivered through an email to Charlie, subject COVID update, right? So it looks like Charlie essentially got this email, opened and clicked on the link, and that's how the file actually got onto that person's endpoint. Right? Ability to kind of stitch that together is what helped. Now, even though the detection was made on the firewall side, the response had to be done on the endpoint side. So we were able to come here and actually isolate this particular endpoint directly, right? We could have also gone and taken this. So that's essentially how you do the response part of it, right? Does that answer your question, Darshak?
Yeah, so basically what I am understanding from your input is that EDR will provide the information on a standalone device, but XDR will provide me the journey. Is it right?
across all the different domains, all stitched together for you, right? And that's right now, a lot of that is a very manual process. The other thing that we've also done is while we were doing this, there was a ticket that actually opened in ServiceNow. And what you see up here is through SecureX orchestration, we found that there's a vulnerability scan that we did, which is CVE 2020-796. If you want to learn more about it, if you click right here, it will take you directly to the Microsoft CVE. The details for that, all of them are identified right here. You can go through, understand what the vulnerability is. And not only that, we identified which endpoints in your environment have that vulnerability. Now you can go and patch that, as well as which endpoints are not vulnerable to that particular CVE, right? So how did this happen? And so what we've done with Cisco Threat Response is we've delivered a full SaaS-based orchestration capability. And it comes with a lot of preloaded workflows. You can create your own workflows. I'll kind of show you how that you can do that. But the workflow that actually ran, that generated this, is this particular CVE. Now, this workflow runs automatically in the backend. If you want to run that daily, you want to run that on an hour basis, depending on whatever workflow you want to run. At this point, what it's doing is it's going to go scan your endpoints for any vulnerability that you want. If it finds a vulnerability, it will go sort it out, identify which endpoints are there, and then it will go create a ServiceNow ticket for your team to go take response action on that. This is one of the workflows that we put in here. Another workflow might be, say you are monitoring a threat intel blog, and there are some observables in there. Our orchestration can go scan that, extract all the observables, scan your environment, see if that threat is in your environment. If so, it can open a particular ticket for you, as well as take response action depending on how you want to do this. Everything that you see in here is essentially you can create this workflow through click and drag. So if you wanted to go create your own new workflow, you can come in and say, okay, I actually want to go and, for example, the configurations that we have, AppD, whether it's in AWS services, anything that you want, all of these have been integrated into this. Click and drag, create your workflow, schedule it, it runs that in the background. It will go either send a notification to you through WebEx Teams, email, however you want to get the notification for you. And the good news is this is all free. We don't charge for any of this stuff. So this is a SOAR product that you get at essentially zero cost, which we are very happy to deliver to you guys. You have to buy one Cisco security product. That's the catch. But if you do, you get all of these at no additional cost. So that's something that we are very excited about. Any questions before I go to the third-party integrations that we have in here?
Kunal?
Just one small thing. So with the traditional EDR, what we have noted is there are some limitations when it comes to, let's say, Linux, the way it operates, as well as, let's say, when we talk about AX platform. So is there a similar limitation with this particular solution as well, XDR solution?
Sorry, I'm not sure I quite followed. Like, what limitation are you referring to?
So essentially what happens is when you deploy, let's say, an EDR solution on a Windows-based platform or a Wintel server,
Yeah.
so the way it works, it's slightly different when you do it on a Linux, depending on what access you have on the kernel. Yeah. And the third thing is in terms of AIX, because AIX is something I think most of the EDR currently they don't support. So that is my query. Yeah.
So yeah, we can get you the OSs that our endpoint EDR capability supports. I don't believe we have the AX support, but I can go confirm that, Kunal, and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Right. And so going back to the platform in itself right here, we've tried to make this about as simple as we can. So these are all the different things that we've integrated in the instance that I'm running, right? So we have our M4 endpoint, our defense, Cisco Defense Orchestration. This is where you can tie in your policies for your firewall, whether it's on the cloud or not. Tetration, which is your microsegmentation for your cloud workload, your email security, your firepower. Orbital, this is essentially a super powerful capability that we have. You can go and scan anything that you want on every endpoint, any applications, any posture-related information, go through your registry, all that information, and it comes with about 200 pre-built queries for you. So you can essentially go and schedule that and run that in your environment. We've tied in, obviously, the SecureX orchestration, Thwart, which is our NDR capability. It will take a look at any NetFlow traffic, identify any public cloud telemetry as well to identify any threat detection that you see. All of that has been tied in here. We also tied in Google Chronicle, we've tied in Shodan, all of those are tied in up here. There are a bunch of other integrations that we have, different virus totals. You've got abuse, cybercrime, Farsight, Google Chronicles, Google Safe Browsing, different third-party products have been tied in here. It's a very powerful platform. You can create your own integrations. We continue to add more and more integrations to this platform as we go forward, right? So again, if I were to kind of summarize this, we were probably the first one to deliver an XDR that ties your investigation, which is detection, investigation, remediation across multiple domains from a single console, which we saw that. We've brought in automation to help you automate a lot of your workflows, whether they are more on the cyber hygiene side or whether they are more on the threat response side. And we made sure that this is a completely open platform, so you can bring in your third-party products as well as Cisco products that you have. And you get all of this at when you buy one of our Cisco security products. So try to keep this about as simple as possible.
Thank you, Snehal. It has been a very detailed and insightful presentation. And I'm quite sure that there may still be a lot of questions lurking in our minds.
I would be surprised if there wasn't. This was a 5-minute overview for something that takes a lot of time for people to get their arms around. So more than happy to set up time with any of you one-on-one with a much more detailed deep dive. Please let us know. More than happy to support that.
Absolutely, Snehal. So friends, in the interest of time, we will really have to wrap this up. It's been a wonderfully insightful discussion, and I'm sure there must be a lot of queries, questions, clarifications in the minds of our InfoSec friends here. And I can see the level of interest and excitement, but really we will have to call it a day. And should there be any further questions, queries that you may have, I would request all of you to get in touch with Snehal or the Cisco team here. And you could also get in touch with us alternatively. And friends, thank you all for joining us today, the attendees and the panelists. And I would particularly like to thank our partner Cisco, without whose support this roundtable discussion would not have been possible. Thanks a lot.
Again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Yes, thanks a lot. And nice meeting all of you. Thank you, Manoj, Kunal.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
so we finally get to see Mahbubul. He has reserved, I think he has reserved something special for the last. So Mahbubul, 30 seconds for you. Your last thoughts. Wrap up the discussion.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
You're on mute.
No, I'm a little bit about the future. The upcoming jargons, because just few days ago, I have convinced my board and management about EDR, the sandboxing solutions. Now EDR also comes into the picture. And I'm frightening about the fact that one year is coming, then Z. So lots of things, but jokes apart, yes, we need the proactive approach of detection and how to capitalize the telemetry data at best level. We really need to dig down. Thanks to Patel for his insightful demonstrations. And I believe it will give us a different perspective to think about. And definitely we'll get back to Vivek about the commercial part as well.
Coming to the brass tacks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all, friends. We have a wonderful, lively.
That would be a short discussion. We don't monetize it, so that would be good.
Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, friends. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Meet next time. Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.